On this episode, Auburn River National Park and a discussion about water-sensitive urban design, equity, beautiful places like this in our urban landscape. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ideanthro, and welcome to the beautiful Auburn River National Park. Now this is one of those finding inspiration episodes where primarily we just show you a spot that's really beautiful so you can enjoy it. So, with that in mind, take a couple of seconds, check out Auburn River National Park. Nice, isn't it? Tay and I have come up here just for a couple of nights. It's about 5 hours drive northwest of Brisbane. Might not be the most sustainable use of petrol, doing that for 5 hour drive for 2 nights. But Tay and I have come up here for a couple of nights, really just to relax and recover after a really hectic couple of weeks, and with a few more hectic weeks to come in the not too distant future. We just really came up here to relax and recover. And this got me thinking. It got me thinking about the fact that if you went back in time pre-European settlement, no matter where you were in Australia, there would have been beautiful places like this. Now, not necessarily Rocky Gorge. I don't necessarily mean beauty in the sense of the Rocky Gorginess of this place, but beautiful places, water holes where people, the Aboriginal people who lived on these lands, would have come together, would have enjoyed really, really beautiful and in some instances spiritual places. And it gets me thinking about just how unfortunate it is that in our modern cities, in our modern places, that we end up having to drive really long distances to get somewhere like this. Because let's be honest, if you live in Brisbane, realistically, if you want to come to a creek that's really beautiful, you've got to drive essentially an hour from the centre of Brisbane to get to anything that's really beautiful. That's one of the multiple cedar creeks around Brisbane. And then beyond that, you just start pushing further and further out to get to anything really, really nice and really beautiful. And I think from a human health point of view, from a mental health point of view, when beautiful places like this are so good for relaxation and restoration, I think that's one of the reasons why it's really unfortunate that we just destroy our waterways in urban areas. There's others, but it's just the one that's in my mind at the moment, that's sticking in my head because I'm surrounded by this beautiful red landscape right now. And it's one of the reasons why I find water-sensitive urban design and the concept of a water-sensitive city, whatever that might eventually morph into. I don't mean it by its narrow definition of just fire retention systems and wetlands tacked on the end of the developments. But, you know, ecologically sustainable development is so important so that we can keep places like this in our cities where they're actually accessible. Because there's an equity issue at play here, right? Is that, yeah, okay, it's all fine and well that you can, you know, I can afford the time and the money to drive 400 kilometres to come visit a place like this. That's not the case for everyone. There are equity issues at play here where I think we need landscapes that are sustaining and beautiful and convey that mental restoration or whatever you get from a landscape like this and have that available to everyone within our cities. Recently I've had a few conversations with people where we've been talking about this topic of how do we maintain all these stormwater treatment assets that we're building that are helping to keep our waterways in really good condition. And there's a bit of a trend in the conversation I've been picking up recently, which is, well, there's too many of them, we can't afford to maintain them all, so let's just prioritise a few high value waterways and we'll build in all the assets in those areas and maintain them all in those areas, and ostensibly, although this is never said, we'll let the others go to rack and ruin. That for me has a big equity problem. There's equity problems there in the sense of, at the moment with the way most of our policies set, it's only new developers who are building stormwater treatment assets. So it means only new homeowners, first home buyers, the people who can probably least afford it, people who are buying on the edge of the city, are the ones who are actually paying for all the stormwater treatment that's happening at the moment. And there's equity issues because, well, if we're only protecting some high value waterways and not others, like, who's to say who gets the high value waterway nearest to them? Is it the case that it's going to end up being that the high value waterways are in the suburbs of the people who can most afford to pay for them and not in the others? That's not very equitable, particularly when places like this have such an important human health aspect to them. I'm troubled by this, and I think it misses the point. If the point is that the current way that we're doing water-sensitive urban design isn't financially sustainable into the long term, and in that instance I just used the narrowest term of water-sensitive urban design, meaning stormwater treatment. Like, if the current way we're applying bioretention systems and wetlands everywhere isn't financially sustainable into the long term, and that's a question, I'm not saying that it isn't, but there's a real question to be answered there. If that's not the case, the answer isn't, in my opinion, well, let's only do it in a few places and have a few nice creeks and the rest can be all, you know, up Ship Creek, so to speak. Note the way I censored that, learning from a recent insurance ad that's been on the telly. That's missing the point. The concept that we should protect some high value stuff and let the others all go to rack and ruin is missing the point. The point is that we need to find better ways so we can protect everything in a cost-effective manner. Sure, that's a more challenging discussion, that's a more challenging thing to attempt, but it's the only right answer out of this, because it's the only equitable answer, it's the only fair answer when it comes to a human health and a mental health point of view, that we have these beautiful landscapes in our cities that we can visit because they are intrinsically important to us. And that's where I want to leave you with this episode. Enjoy a few more shots of Auburn River National Park, and yeah, actually, I'll leave you with the time lapse I've been filming right now. Sweet, thanks for tuning in, we'll see you next time.